Halloween projects coming forward. So everybody, let's get into it. First thing I want to dive into our main discussion is The Exorcist, everybody. But The Exorcist came out, Exorcist Believer, and Universal spent $400 million on this franchise. $400 million back in 2021. And they decided they were going to make a franchise moving forward. They do 3 movies, hit it off Believer, they're going to go through, and then we're going to just rock the road with this. With that kind of money, they spent $30 million on the first one, and opening weekend, they're making about $35 million. So they made their money back, but then there's also, on top of that, costs of marketing, costs of advertising, and the producer director was like, this is like a lot of pressure on my point because I need to be able to make a great movie that warrants spending $400 million. And of course, Universal, they threw away the whole monster universe. We talked about that before, just like wash that away when one movie did bad. This thing has a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. It doesn't look that good for them. I keep hearing everybody saying it's shit. It's that time of the year where you get nice Halloween projects. We'd love to get spooked. We'd love to have a good time, go to the theater for a scare. But if it doesn't scare you, if it's not good, and you spend all this time, again, talking about so much pressure at $400 million, was there a point of spending that money? Do you scrap the whole thing? Do you start over? Do you just like take it for a wash? Knowing the studios these days, it feels like they would just try to write the whole thing off and be like, well, I guess we lost our asses on that. But to me, I just don't understand. These movies never made big money from the get-go. The original ones are the best, but this one is still made good money, they're saying, for these kind of movies. But with a $400 deficit you're going into, even if these things make $100 million each movie, you're still losing your ass for buying this. So what do you think about this? I'm going to go to Nick first. I know Nick loves horror movies. Nick, have you seen this movie? And even if you haven't, do you think this was a good move on Universal's part to actually spend $400 million on this and hope that this franchise is going to make them bang for their buck? Because to me, it just seems like a bad move. I don't know. What do you think?
Hold on. I also have a question for Nick really quickly in the chat. I know because Nick explained this to me today. So they're asking if it's a sequel, and I said, no, it's an installment. So can you also explain that when you're done answering Brian's questions, please? And thank you.
No, I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately. It looks like dog shit, I guess.
I know.
But I'm a sucker for bad horror movies, so I still want to see it. But I guess I don't think it was wise for Universal to buy this franchise. I don't think it's wise to make this a franchise at all. There are like legitimately interesting obscure horror movies from like the 70s and 80s that like have total franchise potential. And The Exorcist is like, the first movie is such like a singular story with so little movement to create sequels, and they just did. The second one was terrible. The third one is completely unrelated. The prequels are dog shit. There's no reason this one should be any different. So I don't, in terms of your point of is it a sequel or if it's an installment, I don't know. If it's the Demon Pazuzu, then it's technically a sequel, I guess. But I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, no original actors. This is it's like a complete kind of redo here, and they're planning on just like rebooting the whole franchise to make it whole new and make it great, they thought. And Nick, yeah, I just keep hearing it's dog shit. And honestly, this movie is not for me as it is. I wasn't a big fan of the originals. They're okay, but like
the original Exorcist is fucking dude.
Old 80s movie called The Prowler. Right, it's a super low budget, very strict genre slasher film, and like, dude, that would be a sick franchise if they wanted to do it. It's this like old World War II veteran that kills people with a pitchfork on prom night. It's awesome. Let's just roll with that instead, because like at least it's interesting.
Yeah, why not? Like dive into there. I don't know why. Again, you're bringing up a point we say all the time on here, Nick. Is like, why not just do something else? Like stop banking on these franchises. That of course it's a name, and people like would fight over this name. But overall, like, why? It didn't do that best stuff. Then do something new, original.
Because everything has to be a sure bet. In order to like be released in theaters, everything has to be focused and studied and understood. And it like they don't want to take risks because risks aren't sure bets. right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Risks go straight to streaming services and not to theaters.
Or they win Oscars like Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Well, totally. I mean,
Risk.
yeah, I guess I'm not really thinking about like independent films like Annapurna and A24, Focus Features. Those guys are like doing really, really remarkable work. But the studios don't know. Yeah. They like to pretend they know what we want, but they're just salesmen.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. And I say that all the time on the show, but like, it's like you would think after what happened last year at the Oscars and how amazing that fucking movie did, that like they would be willing to do more of that, but they're not. It's almost like they're doing less. Like, it's really unfortunate.
I would have thought the same thing when Parasite won Best Picture.
They're doing just enough to make some money.
Very true.
You're right, Marvin. Just enough. Marvin, do you think that this made sense though for Universal to spend $400 million in this franchise?
Me too.
Here's the deal. This is a concept that plagued in Hollywood from before I've been even worked, before any of us were even thought of. They are scared to grab the nuts of, for lack of a better term, and just say, fuck it. Let's just, instead of Exorcist, we could just rename it some other shit and see how it goes. And you don't necessarily have to bank on an ongoing franchise and feel like you got to make that go on. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that you could just switch a couple of different things and voila, you don't have to call it The Exorcist and see how it goes. But they feel like they can grung on these names and figure like, oh shit, we got a little name to it. See how it goes. And then they end up just
they end up taking it. But they end up taking Marvin.
No, I'm looking at the picture that Brian has up. Yeah.
Your movie.
you know. But they end up taking.
Look at that. I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. I've never even seen The Exorcist, and this is as a kid. Like, I remember seeing that shit like that night, and I'm just like, I'm not watching that shit. Like right now, as a grown ass man, I can watch it because nothing ain't gonna happen. But as a child growing up, I can't watch that shit.
Was there a TV series? Was there an Exorcist TV series?
I remember was it an FX?
Oh shit!
What? Nick, do you know?
It can't be scary though. It can be scary. TV shows can be scary.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch.
I mean, I know there was the Exorcist spoof in I think it was the 4th season of Soap, which was one of my favorite spoof sitcoms of all time.
But Sabrina, about The Exorcist, though, do you think this is a great idea?
No.
$400 million?
Stupid.
If you were Universal, would you spend your freaking hard-earned money on this? Or would you have, maybe, bought a small island instead?
No, I would have done none of. Well, I mean, I guess if I had $400 million to spare and I could buy a small island, I would absolutely do that.
Well, Universal land.
No,
better investment.
Yeah, my motto for tonight is it can fuck itself, and that's what this can do. It I drive by those billboards. I'm like, it's so it doesn't look scary. Like the first Exorcist is like it is very specific to its time. It's very fucking. I don't know. It was very successful. It was groundbreaking at the time. It wasn't like, something that is a dime a dozen, which this kind of shit is now these days. You know what I mean? It's like not the same thing. So if you're going to buy an IP for $400 million, do something better than this crap. It's like a 26, Nick, I think Nick looked it up. Someone looked it up. What is the Rotten Tomatoes score? 26%? 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, Jesus fuck, dude.
20%.
I mean, that's insane. Like, what in the fuck are you doing? If you're going to do it and you're going to spend that much money, do it fucking better.
But they have 2 girls, Sabrina, 2 girls.
Don't care. Don't give a fuck. I shan't be watching this movie, okay? The only Exorcist that I didn't even know there was 30. I didn't know there was a TV series. Thank you, Queen. I didn't know. Nick told me about the sequels and the prequels and all the things. I had no fucking idea that they had done this so many times, which makes this even more of a bad decision and even more of a stupid fucking choice. How about you fucking take that $400 million, pay your writers, pay your fucking actors, and do your fucking job? How about that?
Yeah.
Well, that would be smart. They're not doing that. That would be smart. They're not doing that.
Stupid.
They're not being. You're right. It's just a matter, like Nick was saying too before. It's like it's like there's a built-in audience. It's going to be fine. It's an IP. They know they'll make money for them. They think everyone's fighting over it constantly. They expect it to be big bucks for them. Well, they know. They think that's what they think. They know. It's a sure bet. Like,
Davis, what?
They don't know shit because again, there's $30 million, $35 million opening weekend. Not a big thing, honestly. But for me, I think they should have passed. I think they should have. Yeah, it spent 35 million it made opening weekend, and that's the projection. That's what it was projected. That's what it made. And then they were expecting. I mean, they had $30 million budget, so I mean, they made that money back. But the 400 million, they're still in the hole, and they're still in the hole for advertising. So like, why would you spend your? But you never know. They expected big things. A24 is bringing out stuff like that, like their projects, like the Talk to the Hand or Talk to Me, like that one.
Oh, Talk to Me, that
they
was
spent
good.
like $10 million in that, and it made like 50 million opening weekend. That's a huge win, and it made even more after that. So stuff like that, they expected to be the same thing, you know. But this wasn't.